Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I want to do a quick review for you of these two guys right here. This is the Spyderco Delica and Spyderco Endura in Pakkawood scales and HAP40 steel. These are both exclusive to KnifeCenter.com. The Delica is sold out at the moment, should be back in February of 2018. Endura still has a couple left over, but these are very, very interesting knives. And in fact, super interesting to me because, well, I made no bones of the fact that I freaking love the Delica. The Spyderco Delica 4 is, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, everyday carry pocket knives in the world. It is an incredible freaking piece, and frankly, if I just had to have one knife for the rest of my life, a Delica variant would be a pretty good choice for it. I also happen to love the idea of a modern folder that's got some traditional old school DNA to it. And so when I realized that this was a thing, a Delica variant with some traditional DNA and an upgraded steel, I bought that so hard. Like, you could hear the sonic boom as this guy flew into my freaking cart. And then when I got this guy, I realized, oh, this is good, and so I picked up an Endura too, because I am a weak man. But anyways, I'm going to do this review, rather than focusing on, re-reviewing the Delica and the Endura, I'm going to focus on the differences between these guys here and the base models. The $70 or $80 for the Endura, FRN and VG10 model. And we'll do all the comparison on the basis of that. Then finally, a note on this. This wood is called Pakkawood. It's also called Diamond Wood under another brand. There's something along those lines. And it is a plywood / wood resin mixture / just resin in general. It's stabilized as heck. It's not really wood in the classical sense, but it is absolutely wood looking. And frankly, I think it's still pretty beautiful. So that's what this material is here. Let's go ahead and talk about the pluses relative to your baseline Delica and some of the weaknesses relative to the baseline, and then we'll talk about the final conclusion here. So, in terms of improvements, probably the biggest improvement is actually in the steel. The baseline Delica uses VG10 steel, and VG10 is one of those steels that's fine. It works for everyday carry. I can use it, I can carry it, it's very easy to shop, and it takes a nice edge. But the thing is, in terms of wear resistance, it's not where I'd like it to be. Very often using, cutting through a bunch of foam or something with the Delica, this guy starts to get a little dull by the end of it. This guy instead is using HAP40 and SUS 410. So the HAP40 is the internal part with the edge. The SUS is a jacket around it to help it be a little more stain resistant. And you can actually see this little line here in the blade. That's where the HAP40 stops and the SUS starts. Look, this steel is a really big step up in terms of edge retention, wear resistance, things like that. In my personal life, this is a much better steel choice for me. And I found myself sharpening this guy a lot less, even using it on a pretty regular basis. And so that's very, very nice. Next thing, this guy does not come with a painted clip. The original Delica does come with a painted clip. Well, okay, the baseline one. The original Delica is many years old now. But it does come with a painted clip. I had to actually sand this guy off in order for it to look worth a damn, but these guys come stock with a nice silver satin clip. Those age better, they're more attractive, and I think it really sets off the knife here, so that's absolutely great. Next thing, this guy is easier to disassemble than your regular Delica. Your regular Delica, if you look inside there, has plastic pieces, and those plastic pieces are holding in important springy parts, like, for instance, the backlock spring. That makes this knife a royal pain in the butt to reassemble and disassemble. This guy has all metal parts on there, and that does make that a lot easier. It's still not a knife I want to take apart every damn day, but you know what? It's an improvement. And it is an improvement on one of the areas that frustrates me most on this guy. And so that's great. Next thing, I gotta say, this is a weird aspect of human psychology that I've noticed, but there are a lot of people out there who are scared of anything with an edge. They don't see it as a tool, they see it as a scary murder weapon. Even if you're sitting in the lunchroom using it to cut up an apple, they're thinking, oh my God, why do you need a knife? Well, cut up an apple. Anyways, those types of people, for whatever reason I've noticed, tend to respond much more favorably when there is wood involved. Maybe it's just because Grandpa used to use a knife that had wood on it. Or maybe it's because, I don't know what part of the human psyche is soothed by this, but it seems to be a thing. A wooden knife tends to make people more at ease than even something like this guy, which looks more modern, tactical, I don't freaking know. This isn't really tactical, though. But this has a calming effect on those sorts of incredibly scared people, and that's something I appreciate. So it looks good to them, but it also, personally, the next good thing is that it looks good to me. I like this wood very much, even knowing that it is a kind of plywood, and in fact, you can kind of see the plies on the top there with the resin in between them. it still looks pretty damn nice. You get nice figuring here, and given each one of them looks a little bit different, as it is, wood, but it looks pretty great to me, and it does add really a feeling of quality, a feeling of, frankly, it's something I just like. The other thing is that overall there's a feeling of quality improvement here because, for instance, take a look at the spine of this. Rather than being internal steel liners, now the steel is allowed to kind of show through, and you see this nice satin finished area, whereas on the back of this guy, you just see plastic. And similarly, just all of the lines, this looks like a cleaner and higher class sort of piece. If you're looking at knives as pocket jewelry, which to be real is a thing for me, this is a very functional knife, but not necessarily as pretty as this one. And so this has just a higher felt quality in both the Delica and Endura than the FRN models. Then finally, on the good side for these guys is that these are still at their core a Delica and an Endura. They haven't done anything to change that. They haven't made them worse. They haven't screwed them up. All of the good things that are there about a Delica, by and large, are still there in this guy, and same thing. So you have a gem that's improved, mostly. But that is still mostly. And so actually, let's talk about the areas where it's not improved. In terms of minuses here, first off, unfortunately, there's a little less consistency with the Pakkawood. This is the same material, but on another knife from another company. This is the Benchmade North Fork. And you can see here that this particular piece of Pakkawood is just a lot less interesting on this side. It's a lot darker. There's just not as much going on with it here. And so I'm not super impressed with this. And there's a chance that you could get one out of the box that looks like this too. And I'm not dissing on Benchmade here, by the way. This is a Benchmade Crooked River that's same wood. You can see here it looks a lot more figured than these guys. This just happened to be a bad piece. But relative to knives in FRN, where there's no such thing as a bad piece because it's all the same damn plastic, that is a possibility that you have to worry about here. Next thing, these guys are a little bit heavier than the original versions, or at least than the budget versions. This guy weighs about 3 ounces, and this guy weighs 2.3 ounces. That's about 2/3 of an ounce of change if you do the math. And that is absolutely a factor, and this also changes the balance of the knife. If we balance this guy, you can see that it balances a lot further back, well, at least reasonably further back than the original Delica. And this does mean that the original Delica, frankly, feels a little bit better in the hand when cutting. It's a minor difference. I'm absolutely nitpicking here, but it is absolutely a thing. You can feel it move a little back, and you can feel this being a little bit heavier. That's okay for me, but it might not be for you. Next thing, the HAP40 steel on this guy is just not as stainless as VG10. If you find yourself in salty environments, then honestly, the VG10 version may be a better choice for you. Or you can go to the Salt line, which is very, very similar, but uses completely rust-proof steels, like H1. But nonetheless, in terms of stain resistance, this HAP40 is definitely a step behind. And so that may be a factor for you. One of the things, speaking of moist areas, is that this guy becomes a lot more slippery. There's not all that much texturing to it relative to this, which is nothing but texturing. And so this is a great Vaseline factory knife. This one, not so much. The contouring definitely makes it okay, and it's not like, oh my God, slippery, but that is something that you lose when you go to the Pakkawood version here. Next thing that I don't really care for is that this is a dealer exclusive. KnifeCenter created this guy. They ordered it, and as a result, that's the only place you can get it. And this also means that it comes in smaller batches, so this won't be back in stock, the Delica at least, until February 2018, if their website is to believe. You can still get some Enduras, but still, that's just not great. I wish that this were just a general production run model where you could just buy them from anywhere, and they just kept making them, because these are really popular, and they sold out pretty quickly. Then finally, on the bad side, of course, the price is higher. In fact, the Delica is twice the price of the stock version. The stock Delica these days is $70, and this guy is $140. The stock Endura is $80, and actually the Endura is $140 at the moment too. To me, at least, that is absolutely worth the price, but that changes the complexion of the knife very differently. $140 is puts it in a very different category with very different competition than your $80 or $70 Delica or Endura. This is a great mid to budget, mid-range budget knife, whereas this is something very different. So those are the minuses to me, is that it is twice the price of the stock version. It's a dealer exclusive, which means it's not being regularly made, which means they do come in fits and spurts. They are both a little more slippery in hand. HAP40 is less stainless than the VG10. The metal liners on this guy are a little sharp. Oh, I think I forgot to mention that, but they are. You can hit it with a little shopmaker stone, knock it down there. The balance does move back. It's a little heavier, and you are at the mercy of the particular chunk of wood that gets installed on your knife. Let's talk final conclusions here. Look, final conclusion. I got this knife, the Delica that is, right before I went on a week and change road trip. I figured, you know what? Torture test time. I'm just going to carry this knife. So for that entire time, this is the only knife I had with me. And I figured by the end of it, I would either love it or I'd be craving to go back to the regular deal. Turns out I fell head over freaking heels in love. And I truly believe that, at least for me, for Nick Shabazz, this is the best Delica and the best Endura just ever. Because they've taken one of the most functional pocket knives out there in the form of the Delica and Endura, and they've added a bunch of stuff that I love. They've made it a little classier. They've made the construction a little nicer. They've added an element of modern traditional to it. They've made it a little more people-friendly with the wood, and then to top it all off, they threw in a better steel without sacrificing anything that makes this a great functional tool. And so for me, absolutely, I love these knives. By like day 2 of carrying this guy, I ordered one of these because I didn't want to run out. I didn't want to run out before I got mine. It's not going to be for everybody, though. I mean, in terms of sport and hard work, you're probably going to want the extra gripitude. You're probably going to want the extra stainlessness, and you're probably going to want to pay a little bit less money. And so if I'm going kayaking, this is the guy I'm going to grab. But practically speaking, for me, this has won all the pocket time ever since it showed up. Also, you know, not everyone's going to love the wood aesthetic. Some people, Toadstick calls this the plywood Delica, with good reason, to be sure. And it's a little bit weird to have one of the better value knives out there turn into something that's twice the price. But by God, even if this isn't for everybody, it is for me. And so these are absolutely great knives. They have further polished an already shining gem. And yeah, there were a couple of downsides, but those downsides, at least for me, are just they pale in comparison to the excellence you get in here. So I already recommend these two knives in their base form every damn day of the week, but I will go further and I will recommend these guys up, down, sideways, diagonally, any other direction you'd like. I'll probably recommend these two in them. So these are great knives. KnifeCenter, good job. Spyderco, keep it up, please. Maybe other handle materials. G10 be cool. Just saying. Micarta. Oh, God, Micarta. Anyways, but these are great knives. You should pick them up next time you get a chance. Hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. I hope you've endured this review well, and I haven't offended your delicate sensibilities, guy. Ay, ay, ay. I tried. Have a good one, everybody. Bye now.